Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Ria and this is your weekly astrology horoscope for the week of 14th to 20th March 2022. And before I begin, on my channel I post weekly video horoscopes, new moon video horoscopes and full moon video horoscopes, and you can watch all those if you are interested. And I also request you to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you can be notified every time I post a video. So for this video, I'm just going to talk about the background a little bit, and then I'm going to talk about the week's energies, and towards the end of the video, I will pull a few cards for the week's energies. So let's get started. Now, this week, we are coming into this week with the Sun-Neptune conjunction. Now, the Sun-Neptune conjunction happened on Sunday yesterday. So the energy will still be lingering on, and you can see this, right? You can see this, the Sun and Neptune conjuncted yesterday, right, on Sunday. And this energy could have gone two ways, right? It could have been a very magical, very spiritual feeling, or it could have brought with it a little bit of confusion. So that's what we're entering this week with. On Monday, we'll feel this slightly, but the sun's going to move on, and this energy of Neptune, which can either manifest as a very creative, spiritual, magical energy, or as confusion, will start to ease off. So that's pretty much the background that I'm going to give for this week, right? We are still in the new moon in Pisces energy as well. The new moon in Pisces happened on 2nd March 2022, and in a nutshell, that energy was about closing out the past and moving forward. You can watch my new moon in Pisces video if you want details about that. So we will be in that energy till the end of the week, I would say till Friday, when we have the full moon in Virgo. So that's pretty much the background. Oh, and one more thing that I do want to mention is that the past few weeks have been rather intense, right? And that's because you can see the chart is very concentrated in its energy. There's a lot in Pisces, there's a lot in Aquarius, right? So over the past 2-3 weeks or so, we had Mars, Venus, and Pluto all together. Now you can see Mars and Venus have separated from Pluto. So that intensity that here we have felt in the past couple of weeks, 3 weeks even, is a little less this week. So that's the background. Now let's talk about what's happening this week. So a few things are happening, and I'll just mention those things first, and then I will talk about what those things mean. The first is that this week Mercury and Uranus are going to sextile, a positive aspect. We also have the Sun-Pluto sextile this week, another positive aspect. We have a full moon in Virgo, and that's happening on Friday. We also have the Venus-Uranus square on Saturday, March 19th, and that energy can be slightly challenging. And on Sunday, the sun is going to leave the sign of Pisces and enter the sign of Aries. So that's the week in a nutshell. And now I'm going to talk about these energies one by one. So let's talk with the Mercury-Uranus sextile, which happens on Thursday, March 17th. Now, depending on your location, this can vary, right, by a few hours, and those few hours can even change up the day. So just be mindful of that. As I mentioned, these dates give or take a few hours, and that might change up the day. So on Thursday, and I'm going to move up the chart for Thursday, right? There we go. On Thursday, we have Mercury right here in a positive aspect with Uranus. 60-degree angle between Mercury and Uranus. And Mercury is the planet of communication. It's the planet of our day-to-day, our routine, the food that we eat, what time we wake up, our health, our job. All these are Mercury ruled things. So is our thinking, so is our social media, right? Mercury is a lot of little things. And Uranus is the planet of sudden energy, unexpected energy. It is also the planet of insights, epiphanies, realizations. It is also the planet of raising our vibration and expanding our consciousness. And Uranus is considered the higher octave of Mercury, right? So in many ways, these two energies, you can say, I don't want to say similar, but yes, slightly similar, right? Slightly. And when they make a positive aspect, what can happen is that we might receive insights, right? We might have sudden communication. Uranus is sudden and Mercury is communication. We might have unexpected changes to our routine, to our immediate environment, to our social media, to anything Mercury related. So this is that energy that can bring about sudden, unexpected changes to our day-to-day, to our routine, to our health, to our job, or unexpected communication or sudden communication. And this is a lot of energy. It's a lot of mental energy. It's a lot of stimulating energy. So just be mindful of that as well. So that happens on Thursday. So on Thursday, we can receive insights, we can receive epiphanies, we can have ideas, we can make changes, we can communicate about something that we weren't expecting to communicate about, or unplanned communication can take place. So that's Thursday, right? That's Thursday. Then on Friday, I'm going to move up the chart and you'll see this. We have the Sun-Pluto sextile. The Sun is right here at 28 degrees of Pisces and Pluto is at 28 degrees of Capricorn, and it's a 60-degree angle between both these planets. And the Sun in astrology is considered to be our soul, it's our consciousness, and Pluto is the planet of transformation and endings and beginnings and healing and catharsis. But Pluto energy can feel challenging, right? But this is a positive aspect. So what could be happening here is that maybe we release something, we undergo a process of catharsis, or we end something in our soul, or begin something, or end something in our consciousness, or begin something, or just transform our consciousness in some ways. This is a positive aspect, and the general themes associated with this are transformation, endings, beginnings, healing, and catharsis to our soul, to our consciousness. And that's Friday. And on the same day, right, on the same day, we have a full moon in Virgo. Now, this depends on your location. It could be 17th March, which is a Thursday, or 18th March, which is a Friday. So I'm going to pull up the chart for the moon energy, for the full moon, and then I'll show you guys. So give me a sec. All right, there we go. So this full moon is happening in the sign of Virgo, right? You can see this right here. The moon is here in the sign of Virgo, and the sun is here in the sign of Pisces. And when the sun and the moon make an opposition, 180-degree angle, it is considered a full moon. And a full moon typically brings endings, it brings completions, it brings release, it brings culminations, right? And full moon energy, generally speaking, can feel challenging, and that's because the moon, which represents our emotions, is in opposition with the sun, our soul, right? So in many ways they're opposing each other, and this can feel challenging. But release can be challenging, completions, culminations can also feel challenging sometimes, right? Endings can feel challenging. And this full moon is happening at 27 degrees. You can see this on the chart, 27 degrees. So look for your chart. If you are familiar with your chart, it's happening at 27 degrees of Virgo. So this energy will impact you wherever 27 degrees of Virgo lies in your chart, that house. Now, I will break down this energy in detail in my full moon video, but real quick, let's analyze this full moon, right? Because it is going to impact the energy of this week in a major way, because it's a major event. So let's see that. The moon right here is, that's the sun, but it's in an opposition to Neptune. You can see Neptune is right here next to the sun, right? And Neptune energy can manifest in two ways, right? It can bring a very spiritual, creative, magical feeling, or it can bring confusion, and it can bring a feeling of feeling slightly low. So since this moon is making this aspect to Neptune, right, this moon energy can be very magical or spiritual, or it can cause some confusion. That's the first thing about this full moon, right? And The next thing about this full moon is that it is making a positive aspect, right? The moon right here is trining Pluto, is trining the North Node. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit and explain this to you guys. So the nodes changed signs on Jan 18th, 2022. And when the nodes change signs, which they do every 18 months, we undergo a certain transformation of the themes in our lives. It's a subtle transformation, but that's what happened on Jan 18th, right? The nodes change signs after 18 months, after being in Gemini and Sag. Since May of 2020, the nodes change signs in Jan of 2022. So that was a certain shift in the themes in our lives, you can say. And Pluto here has been trining the North Node since, I would say, a month, right? Feb 14, the trine came exact, but even before that, it was building up to its trine with the North Node. And what that means is, many ways, we are transforming our goals. We are transforming where we are headed. The North Node Rahu represents the future, and Pluto is the planet of transformation. So in many ways, we are adjusting these goals that we have. We are adjusting our path a little bit. We are adjusting where we are headed, transforming these things. And this moon is in a grand trine with Pluto and the North Node, right? So what this means to me is that this is that point which can really help us move one more step towards whatever adjustments, changes we are making towards our goals. So this is a positive aspect that's going on with this full moon. And a couple of other things that I will talk about real quick is that on this full moon, Mars and Venus are going to be really, really close. So for the past 2-3 weeks, even longer, I would say, Mars and Venus have been really close, really, really close. They conjuncted on March 6th as they entered the sign of Aquarius. And even now you can see Mars is here, Venus is here, they're very close. And this Mars-Venus conjunction can manifest in 2 ways. One, extreme passion, extreme energy for our projects, relationships, and self-worth, right? Or frustration about the same things. So on this moon, that energy is still on, which means that there's immense energy to take action, make things happen when it comes to our projects, relationships, and self-worth related things. So that's also happening. And on this full moon, Mercury here is still going to be in a sextile with Uranus, which means that energy that I spoke about at the beginning of the video about sudden changes, unexpected changes to our Mercury things, day-to-day lifestyle, routine, habits, etc., or sudden communication is going to be on this full moon as well. And one more thing that I will talk about is that on this full moon, right, Saturn here is going to be in a square with the nodes. Now, as we enter this week, we will start to feel this. We will start to feel this square, Saturn squaring the nodes. And this is a slower energy, right? It's a longer energy. So it's a build-up. You can see right now, Saturn here is at 20 degrees of Aquarius. North Node at 23, South Node at 23 as well. And it's making a 90-degree angle with both these Rahu and Ketu, North Node, South Node. And it's a build-up, right? It's going to build up for a few weeks and then it's going to come exact. And what this means is that Saturn is the planet of hard work, decisions, discipline, as well as restrictions and limitations. And when a planet squares the nodes like this, it is magnified. So Saturn energy is magnified. And Saturn, like I said, is decisions. It's defining things. It's working hard. It's restriction and limitations as well. So we might still feel that energy of feeling restricted in some ways, feeling limited in some ways, feeling like there are decisions to be made, there's hard work to be done. So that energy is going to be on this full moon as well. And this just doesn't apply to the full moon only, since it's a build-up and we'll feel the build-up starting this week. This energy of feeling slightly restricted, the pressure to decide something, the pressure to work hard is going to be with us for a little while. It's not negative, right? It's just that we are feeling these things so that we can work, so that we can decide things, so that we can get better. But it might feel challenging, but that doesn't mean it's negative. So that's happening on this full moon as well, and a few other things connected to Rahu and Ketu, North Node and South Node, I want to talk about that will be relevant for the full moon, but will also be relevant for the week's energy as a whole, right? So don't just isolate it to that March 18th, 17th or 18th full moon energy. It's going to be with us for a while, the aspects that I'm going to mention right now. So this is the first aspect, the nodes are making a square to Saturn. The second aspect is that the North Node is in a trine to Pluto, right? What that means is that we have been thinking of transforming perhaps where we are headed, our goals, something about the future. Perhaps we are trying to end certain things. Perhaps we are trying to begin certain things so that our lives align with the future. And this happened, like I said, Feb 14th, the trine came exact, but the build-up started before that. But now Saturn has entered the equation and is squaring the nodes. So what that could mean is while we were trying to figure out how to transform our lives to align with the future, how to transform certain things, end things, begin things to align with the future where we are headed, now comes the pressure to decide about those things. Now comes the pressure to work hard towards those changes. That's the second aspect. The third aspect is that Neptune here is sextiling the North Node. And Neptune lends a very spiritual element. It lends a very magical element to anything. So what this could mean is that that Rahu, the North Node, where we are headed, perhaps is a place that is more in alignment with our spirituality, more in alignment with our spiritual path, more in alignment with universal love and compassion, right? So that's another thing. And Jupiter here is also sextiling the North Node. Jupiter is blessings, it's rewards, it's healing. So in many ways, it's doing that for the future. It's doing that to our path. So that's the energy that we are building into this week, that we will feel on this full moon in Virgo as well. So to sum it up, I would say that Rahu right here, the North Node, let's see, Ketu South Node, square to Saturn, right? Trine to Pluto, sextile to both Jupiter and Neptune. So this goal that we have, the path that we're on, the future Rahu, has some magical spiritual element to it. There's some blessings connected to it. And we have been trying to align our lives, begin things, end things, transform things in our lives so that they align with the future. And now comes the pressure to work hard towards those transformations that we have been trying to make for about a month or so. And we might feel slightly restricted as well. So this is the energy of the whole week, not just isolated to the full moon. Now, the next important thing happens on, okay, before we move on, completing the energy of the full moon, right? You can see Mars and Venus are conjunct, yes, but they're also in a square to Uranus on this full moon. And Uranus, like I said, is sudden, it's unexpected. And Venus is our projects, it's our relationships, it's our self-worth. And Mars is action, Mars is aggression, Mars is drive. So when Uranus aspects these planets in a challenging way, 90-degree angle, sudden changes connected to our projects, our relationships, or how we feel about ourselves might come about. And with the square to Mars, sudden action might take place. But be mindful that this energy is a lot of energy. Uranian energy it's like outbursts, right? It's a lot of energy and then nothing, a lot of energy and then nothing. So it can lead to outbursts, especially when it contacts Mars, the planet of aggression. So just be mindful of that on this full moon as well. So that's the energy of the full moon. I would say there's a lot going on this full moon, and to understand it properly, I will break it down in my full moon video. But real quick, there's a lot of energy about change on this full moon with Uranus squaring Mars and Venus and sextiling Mercury, right? We might feel slightly confused, or we might feel very spiritual with the opposition to the moon, the Neptune moon opposition. And with all that going on with the North Node, the trine to Pluto, the square to Saturn, the sextile to Neptune and Jupiter, this is a point where we might start to feel slightly pressured into working hard, into deciding things, into making commitments, and we might feel slightly limited. But there are blessings towards where we are headed. There is a spiritual alignment towards where we are headed, and we have been trying to transform our lives to align with where we are headed for the past month or so. So that's that in a nutshell. And moving on to Saturday. Let's see Saturday. And this is when the Venus Uranus square comes exact, right? Venus here is at 12 degrees, Uranus is at 12 degrees. And like I said, Uranus is sudden energy. It's unexpected energy. And when it contacts Venus, the planet that rules romantic love, that rules our projects, that rules our self-worth, our skills, our values, sudden changes can come about to these things. Unexpected changes can come to these things. And it's a square, so it might feel challenging, right? So just work with the energy. And although right now the square to Mars is not exact, it will be next week. We'll feel this square to Mars as well, Uranus squaring Mars, and this can lead to, like I said, outbursts. So just be mindful of this energy. And this is 19th. Yeah, almost 19th, I would say. Some parts of the world 18th. Like I said, give or take a few hours because the location changes up everything. So that is Saturday. And now moving on to the next important thing, we have the sun changing signs, right? So let's see that. There we go. On Sunday, the sun has entered the sign of Aries. Now, the sun has been in Pisces for the past 30 days. Piscean energy is flexible, it's free-flowing, it's spiritual, it's creative, it's about going with the flow, it's about universal love and compassion, trying to embrace universal love and compassion. And Pisces is the end of the zodiac. It's where we end the past. It's where we close out the cycle of the zodiac. And Aries is where we begin it. And now on March 20th, the sun enters the sign of Aries. Aries is action. Aries is taking initiative. Aries is making things happen. So now that energy to really make things happen is more pronounced. And I say more pronounced simply because all energies are direct right now. They have been direct since the 3rd Feb. So about a month and a half now, I believe. And when planets are direct, that's a good time to take action and make things happen and get some forward movement. So with the sun changing signs into the sign of Aries, that energy of taking action and making things happen will be more pronounced. And that is Sunday. So that's the week in a nutshell. And I also want to mention that by the end of this week, Jupiter and Mercury will conjunct. You can see they've conjuncted by now on Sunday. But for some parts of the world, this will be Monday next week. And let's just talk about this real quick. Mercury is our mind, it's our day-to-day, it's our health, it's our job, it's our social media, and Jupiter is blessings and lessons. So when they meet up, right, what happens? We get blessings, we get healing, we get lessons connected to Mercury, health, job, day-to-day, lifestyle, communication, thinking, etc. But Jupiter is a magnifier, so it can really magnify the energy of Mercury, and Mercury energy is restless. Mercury energy can be anxious. So just keep that in mind, right? It's a positive thing. Anything with Jupiter usually is a positive thing, but it can amplify Mercury, and Mercury can be restless. So just be mindful of this energy, and that's how we end the week. Now, next week, we have a lot going on as well. We have Mars here getting ready to square Uranus exact. We have the Mercury-Neptune conjunction. We have the last quarter square of the moon start. We have the Mercury-Pluto sextile. We have Mercury changing signs from Pisces to Aries. We have the Venus-Saturn conjunction. So a lot going on next week and a lot going on this week as well. But the energy is slightly easier this week than it has been. I wouldn't say last week, but the last to last week, right? Those 2 weeks, it was intense. And that was simply because Venus here, Pluto here, Venus and Mars were here with Pluto. They were conjunct, and that's what brought the intensity. But now you can see Mars and Venus are still close, but they've separated from Pluto. So the intensity has decreased, but they are building up to meet Saturn. And Saturn doesn't feel the easiest. So there's this build up, right? That pressure to decide, that pressure to work hard that I mentioned, that's building. So that's the week in a nutshell, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Oh, before that, I have to pull some cards. I totally forgot. So let's start with this deck. Going forward, the Sun in Aries, all planets direct. Perhaps this is the energy of going forward this week, right? So many aspects to the nodes. The nodes, Rahu, the North Node is the future. It's where we're headed. It's our goals, right? So a lot of aspects to that this week. Energy about moving forward. Solitude, and perhaps some energy about practicing solitude. I don't know. This is a Pisces thing. You know, Pisces rules the 12th house. The 12th house is the house of isolation as well. But this is not isolation, right? Isolation in many ways has negative connotations attached to it. Solitude doesn't have those negative connotations, in my opinion at least. Solitude is something that can give you peace, right? It's, in a way, something that can really help you connect with yourself, help you connect with the higher realms. And there's a lot of energy in Pisces right now. So perhaps this is referring to that energy. Says Death. I'm learning that endings are merely beginnings. This is a Pluto card. And Pluto has been aspecting the North Node, our goals. And we have been figuring out what needs to end, what needs to begin, what needs to transform. So perhaps to begin something, we need to end something. And that's the lesson of this week, right? To end anything, or rather to begin anything, we need to end something first. Okay, last card, and then we'll close it out. Two cards flipped, so TikTok and the Fates. So again, the Fates, this is very similar to the cards that we got recently. Leave it up to the universe. And that's because Pisces is the higher realms, right? Pisces is surrender. So leave it up to the fate. TikTok. And TikTok usually means time is running out, or, you know, time is of essence. So maybe something connected to that. That maybe if you want to do something, do it now, perhaps. You know, the sun is going to enter the sign of Aries this week. All planets are direct. So if you want to do something, maybe go for it now. That's what this card means to me. So I think that's pretty much it. So I'll just show you guys the cards once again. I think this is saying time is of the essence. It's a good time to move forward right now. Surrender, leave it to fate, leave it to the universe, because this is a Pisces card. This is a Pluto card. What you need to end, what you need to begin, right? And the lesson for this week is that when we want to begin something, usually something ends. Solitude, again, a Pisces card, to connect with yourself, to connect with the higher realms, and there is forward movement. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Bye.